If you've opened your banking app recently and felt that drop in your chest, that quiet wave of disappointment, this isn't bad luck. It's a loop. And unless you see the loop, you will repeat it for the next 10 years. You sit down. Maybe it's Sunday night. Maybe it's the first of the month. You open your credit card statement. You check the numbers. Same pattern, same stress, same promise you made last time. And then that voice shows up. What is wrong with me? Let me say this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. But something is happening inside you. And something is happening around you. And until you understand both, you will keep repeating the same financial mistakes, no matter how many budgets you download. In this video, you'll see why you keep repeating the same financial mistakes. You'll know exactly where the pattern starts, where it accelerates, and how to break the pattern without relying on willpower. Because this isn't about discipline, it's about structure. Now let's look at what's really happening. The reason you keep repeating the same financial mistakes isn't because you're lazy or undisciplined or broken. It's because you're human, and more importantly, it's because you've been trying to solve a psychological problem with logical solutions, and that never works. Let's start with a simple question. Think about the last financial mistake you made, the one that felt familiar, the one where you caught yourself halfway through and thought, oh no, not again. Maybe it was ordering takeout when you have a fridge full of food. Maybe it was buying something online at midnight that you didn't need. Maybe it was pulling money out of savings for something that felt urgent, but wasn't really. Now ask yourself this. In that moment, what were you feeling? Not thinking, feeling, stressed, lonely, exhausted, behind? Because here's the thing we don't talk about enough. Money decisions are rarely made in the logical part of the brain. They're made in the emotional center, the part that craves comfort, safety, relief, or escape. And that part of the brain doesn't care about spreadsheets. Psychologists call this state-dependent behavior. It means that when you're in a certain emotional state, stressed, lonely, tired, anxious, you will make decisions that match that state. And later, when you're calm and clear-headed, you'll look back and genuinely not understand why you did what you did. You weren't stupid. You were just in a different emotional body. The problem is, we try to fix future behavior while sitting in a calm state. You create budgets when you feel hopeful. You set goals when you feel disciplined. You promise change when you feel motivated. But the test doesn't come when you feel motivated. The test comes at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday when you're exhausted and overstimulated and just want something, anything to feel better. And that version of you, they weren't in the meeting when the budget was made. So if it's not about willpower, what is it about? Now let's zoom out. Because your repeated financial mistakes aren't just emotional. They're structural. You are living in an economy that quietly squeezes your margin every year. Inflation raises prices without asking permission. Rent climbs. Groceries inch upward. Insurance premiums increase. Taxes shift. If you earn $3,000 a month and spend $2,950, you are technically surviving. But financially, you are fragile, and fragile systems break under stress. Roughly 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing. That's not irresponsibility, that's thin margin. And thin margin means one job loss, one medical bill, one car repair. Suddenly, you're reaching for the credit card you swore you'd never carry a balance on again. And just like that, the cycle resets. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Meet Mark. Mark earns $75,000 a year. On paper, he's stable. Nice apartment, car payment, dinners out on weekends, streaming subscriptions, gym membership. He spends about $74,200 a year. That means he has $800 of real margin. Then one random Tuesday at 8:12 a.m., the email hits. Layoff. Mark isn't irresponsible. He's exposed. 30 days later, he's carrying a credit card balance at 24% interest. 6 months later, he's paying for past comfort with future income. Mark didn't fail. He scaled his vulnerability. And this is the first major pattern. You optimize for comfort instead of resilience. You get a raise. You upgrade your lifestyle. Better apartment, new phone, more convenience. Income rises. Spending rises faster. Margin stays thin. Shock hits. Debt fills the gap. Shame follows. You promise to change. You thought you were progressing. You were scaling your fragility. You didn't build armor first. And the loop continues. But there's another layer beneath this. Your history. We all have a relationship with money that goes deeper than numbers. For some of us, money represents safety because we grew up in homes where there wasn't enough. For others, money represents freedom because we grew up in homes that felt controlling. For some, money represents love because we learned early that gifts meant affection or that paying for dinner meant someone cared. And here's the difficult part. These associations don't go away just because we grow up. They live in the shadow, and they run the show when we're not paying attention. If you grew up in a household where money was tight, really tight, where every purchase caused tension, where asking for something meant watching your parents argue, then money became associated with anxiety. You grow up, you get a decent job, you have money now. But every time you swipe your card for something non-essential, you feel a flicker of guilt, a whisper that says, you shouldn't be doing this. So what do? You spend in secret, or you avoid looking at your accounts, or you swing between extreme frugality and bursts of spending. Then one night, you open your credit card app at 2 a.m. and see the balance and think, why do I keep doing this? Because the child in you is still waiting for the argument to start. Now flip it. Maybe you grew up in a home where money was never discussed. Needs were met. Wants appeared without friction. The unspoken message was that money just shows up. You grow up. Now you have rent, bills, responsibilities. But you never built the internal muscle for scarcity. You never practiced saying no to yourself. So when you see something you want, you buy it. Not because you're greedy, because the pause button was never installed. Two different childhoods, same adult confusion. And then you layer modern economics on top of that psychology. One-click buying, auto-renew subscriptions, buy now, pay later loans with invisible interest rates. You are being engineered for impulse. Predatory loans don't advertise long-term damage. They advertise relief. Low monthly payments. Instant approval. Zero down. But a 36% annual interest rate doesn't care about your emotional state. If you borrow $5,000 at that rate and only make minimum payments, you're not just paying back $5,000. You're renting time at a brutal premium. Debt reduces options. Reduced options increase desperation. Desperation creates more bad decisions. That's how debt spirals happen. Not because you're careless, because you were cornered without margin. And margin is everything. Let's talk about something that doesn't feel dramatic, but is lethal over time. Inflation. If inflation averages 6%, your purchasing power cuts in half in roughly 12 years. That means $100,000 today buys what $50,000 will buy in just over a decade. You don't feel robbed, but you are, slowly, quietly. And if your money sits in cash earning almost nothing, you're not being safe. You're moving backward. Now let's talk about investing mistakes. Maybe you don't stay in cash. Maybe you chase hype. A friend mentions a guaranteed opportunity. Social media promises 20% monthly returns. You don't want to miss out. Fear of missing out is stronger than fear of losing. So you invest money you can't afford to lose. Then it drops 40%. Panic. You sell. You swear off investing. Then inflation erodes your cash. And months later, you chase the next trend. If you invest $500 a month at a 7% annual return for 25 years, you could end up with roughly $380,000. Delay that by 5 years because you're cleaning up debt from impulsive decisions? You might lose over $100,000 in potential compounding. You didn't just lose money, you lost time, and time is the one asset you can't refinance. So now we've identified the threats. Let's talk about identity. If you believe you're bad with money, you will unconsciously confirm it. You'll overspend and say, "See, I always mess up." You'll avoid your bank account because I don't want to feel stupid. You'll delay investing because I'll probably choose wrong. Your brain prefers consistency over improvement. If chaos is familiar, chaos feels safe. So you recreate it. This is where most advice fails you. It tells you to try harder, use more discipline, download another app. But willpower collapses under stress. Systems don't. So what breaks the loop? Structure. You need to remove choice from your weakest moments. Automate savings the day income hits your account. If money never sits idle, it can't be impulsively spent. Cap lifestyle inflation. If you get a raise, decide in advance that half goes to investments or debt elimination. Not because you're deprived, because you're building armor. Build a 3-month emergency buffer before upgrading your lifestyle. Each month of expenses saved is a layer of protection. Armor changes how you think. When you have reserves, you negotiate better. You don't panic at market dips. You don't accept predatory loans. You don't stay in toxic jobs out of fear. Prepared people act. Unprepared people react. Reaction is expensive. Preparation is boring. Choose boring. And here's the most underrated tool you have. The pause. Between impulse and action, there is a gap. Right now, that gap is tiny. Stress shrinks it. Fatigue shrinks it. Loneliness shrinks it. So widen it. Next time you feel the urge to spend in a way that doesn't align with your long-term goals, don't shame yourself. Just pause for 10 seconds and ask, what am I hoping this will change? Not, can I afford this? Not, do I need this? What am I hoping this will change? Are you trying to change how you feel? How someone sees you? The anxiety in your chest? The fear that you're behind? Because when you say yes to dinner you can't afford, maybe you're saying yes to belonging. When you avoid your bank account, maybe you're protecting yourself from shame. When you order delivery again, maybe you're just exhausted. These aren't spending problems. They're human problems wearing a price tag. But here's where we move from psychology to power. Awareness without structure is useless. So you combine the pause with systems. If late-night spending is your weakness, remove your card from saved browsers. If social pressure pushes you to overspend, set a fixed social budget you refuse to exceed. If you avoid looking at numbers, schedule a weekly 15-minute money review, non-negotiable. Small structural moves, big long-term consequences, and don't ignore income. Most people obsess over cutting expenses. Yes, control spending, but income expansion is leverage. If you increase income by 20% and hold expenses steady, your margin explodes. Skills are leverage. If you haven't upgraded your skills in 5 years, your income stagnation isn't bad luck. It's predictable. Learn something the market values. Communication, sales, software, problem solving. Channel side income directly into debt elimination or investments. If side income becomes side spending, the loop survives. If it becomes leverage, the loop breaks. And understand taxes. If you increase income but ignore tax efficiency, you celebrate gross while net barely moves. Every dollar legally optimized is a dollar compounding. Every dollar lost to ignorance is a soldier you never deployed. Now let's talk consequences. If you repeat the same financial mistakes for 5 years between 25 and 30, you don't just lose some time. You shrink the compounding runway. You delay stability. You reduce optionality at 40. But here's the part most people miss. Compounding doesn't care about your past. It only cares about what you do next. 5 disciplined years can erase a decade of chaos. 10 can transform your entire trajectory. The goal isn't perfection, it's anti-fragility. A life where shocks don't break you. A portfolio that recovers. A skill set that adapts. An income strategy that evolves. So the next time you open your banking app and feel that drop in your chest, don't promise vague change. Open your accounts fully. Calculate your exact monthly expenses. Ask yourself one hard question. If my income stopped tomorrow, how long could I survive? If the answer scares you, good. Clarity is the beginning of control. Then build margin, automate investments, eliminate high-interest debt, increase income intentionally, widen the pause, stop negotiating with your weaknesses, design around them. Because repeating the same financial mistakes isn't a curse, it's a pattern, and patterns are structural. Change the structure, and you change the outcome. You are not behind. You are not broken. But the economy will not slow down to protect you. Inflation will not apologize. Markets will not wait for you to feel confident. Predatory offers will continue to appear. The only question is whether you keep replaying the same script, or whether this is the moment you finally end the loop. Not with motivation, with systems, with margin, with leverage. If you've ever felt that drop in your chest opening your banking app, this channel is for you. We're not chasing hype here. We're building armor. Like this video, comment, and hit the subscribe button if you're ready to stop repeating the loop and start designing a financial life that doesn't collapse under pressure. Because freedom isn't built in one big decision. It's built in deliberate ones. One layer of armor at a time.